We see Apple tripling down on this family of iPhones. Mark Gurman really played down the newness of these new devices. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, fundamentally, it was the things that people expected them to do, that the market really does want. They do want larger screen sizes and smaller screen sizes. It's about segmentation at this point, right? The market is already saturated. People are now looking for those special niches that they're going to want to fulfill. And Apple did do that in a couple of interesting ways. Obviously, the screen sizes is one of them. But also, let's not forget that for the China and Asia market, dual SIM support is a big deal. So that was important as well.
Let's talk about dual SIM. So this is, the addition of electronic SIM card, which means you can change carriers more easily. Right. You don't have to put in a new SIM card. You can just do it in your settings. It also makes international travel very easy. The carriers potentially not too happy about this, but why could this be so transformative? Well,
it's really going to be much more transformative in other parts of the world than the U.S. I think we'll see with eSIM, theoretically, it's easier to change carriers, but it's not necessarily. You still have to, make the call and do the changes. So there's some hassle involved. But in Asia and other markets, people literally have a work line and a personal line, and that's a big deal. So that's really important as well.
So talk about the Apple Watch. A lot of excitement about the watch. The FDA approval, the health tracking features, the heart monitoring features, an electric cardiogram on your wrist. How significant are these upgrades?
I think they're really significant. And you mentioned it earlier, and I completely agree that we're now finally seeing the vision of the Apple Watch that I think people originally expected. It's a health device. It is a wearable computer. It's much more than just a smartwatch. And I think that's the original vision that people had for the Apple Watch. They're only just now getting to that vision. So I think it's a big deal. Now, will it dramatically increase the sales of the device? We'll see. But it can be thought about differently now, because now it's a health tracking device, not just a fitness device and not just a smartwatch. And it does things automatically. And the machine learning side of it, to me, even though Mark revealed all the specs, the one thing he wasn't able to necessarily do was reveal sort of this smartness and intelligence of these devices. On the watch, the automatic fall recognition and then making a phone call, things like that, as well as on the phone, the automatic recognition of HDR, high definition, high resolution images, and the ability to do that dynamically with their neural net engine and machine learning. All of that stuff was new, and it gave a little bit of a twist and a look forward to what I think we're going to expect from these kinds of devices.
Can't put one of those on my kids because they'll be making a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
But that's my question. When Face ID came out, it didn't work that well at first. People really had to get used to it. Do you think that's going to be the same case with the watch and these new features? Are they going to work as well as advertised?
Well, obviously the devil's in the details, and we'll see. But certainly, I think the idea is interesting. I do agree, though, the mainstream people who have not gone to an iPhone 10, getting used to the swipe and the lack of the home button, it's going to take some people a little bit of getting used to. But most people do adjust, and I think they'll adjust on this as well.
So I think it's worth pointing out that the strategy is so different than it was 8-10 years ago, where it was all about one device, one phone. Now you have all of these niches, and I'm curious, do you think there are too many niches? I asked Mark earlier, are people going to buy the middle phone when you could just buy the cheap one or the big one?
It's a great question, but look, if you think about it and you look at how people use their phones, I mean, I can look at my family and friends, I'm sure you could do the same. People do have different preferences, and let's not forget, Apple, of course, sells worldwide, and there's a lot of regional preferences. So what Apple has recognized is, look, we can't just do the one-size-fits-all phenomenon anymore. We have to segment the market, create different products for these different segments, and that's the only way they can maintain the position that they're in, because look, overall smartphone market is not growing. So now it's about maintaining share, and that's what they're trying to do.
And we can't forget, you've got the iPhone 7 still available in that $400 range, but as you said, competition is only getting more fierce. You've got a raft of competitors in China, and they are a lot cheaper. So how well poised do you think Apple is to tackle some of these growing and developing markets? Is it going to be more about customers upgrading, or is it going to be about luring new users?
It's a great question. I think we are going to see a little bit of both. China, remember, they have a huge band of very strong Apple followers, and they love big phones. So the XS Max with dual SIMs in China is going to be a huge hit, I'm sure. But places like India, even $449 is way too expensive.
Apple's been struggling in India.
Yeah, I mean, people sell phones there for under $100 or maybe $150 that are pretty well equipped. So that is going to be a challenge. But I think this is the world that we live in now. And I think Apple knows that, and they're going to have to continue that segmentation. And just remember that not everything is geared for everybody, and they're going to target certain products to certain markets and then use other products in other markets.